it is Rebecca here. How you doing? I'm in a slightly different environment at the moment today, folks, for Self-Worth Week, day 3. Today we're talking about the power of your spoken word. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and everything energetically open to make sure that our internet connection works. If there's any trouble or stress, I will come back and do this again later. I did notice that the video cut out yesterday, so what would it take for that to not occur today? But welcome, folks. It's great to have you here and connecting and joining in with the self-worth challenge, because as we talked about on day 1, your self-worth impacts absolutely everything in your life. It has an impact on all the choices that you make for yourself, the job, the relationships, the opportunities, the experiences that you have in your life. So super important in terms of knowing what it is, knowing what it's not, which is what we talked about on day 1, and getting clear on that. Hi, Maria. Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's and again, I've talked about why this is so important, because fundamentally I see so many people in my coaching practice, right? When people come to see me, there's often a dissonance or something out of alignment when it comes to their own self-worth. So that's why I wanted to come and do this challenge with you guys, so you can actually learn how to look at your own self-worth from a slightly different perspective. You know, we talked about on day 1 about what your self-worth is not, and it's not anything external. It's not your body, it's not your car, it's not your house, it's not your relationships, it's not your kids, it's not your material items. It is nothing external. It is the quality of the relationship that you're having with yourself. Yesterday we talked about how to approach yourself. And why did we talk about it from that perspective? Because what we learned is that we can often show up to other people, other relationships, with curiosity, warm-heartedness, openness, but we don't necessarily offer ourselves the same. Hi, Adriana. Welcome, lovely. Great to have you here. So welcome everybody. If you're here, say hi. I can't actually see who's on unless you do say something, because I've got the chat box open, but it doesn't tell me who's actually live. So welcome. I'm glad to have you guys here on day 3. Now, day 3 is something, again, it's a little bit wood for the trees in terms of the fact that this is something that we often take for granted. And what we take for granted is our language, because we're using it, doing it all day, every day, right? And why is this so important? Well, let's start with the fact that you may know this already. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, right? It's huge, right? And often they're just happening all the time in the background, right? You know, you might be doing something, but still thinking about something else in the background. So 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And I really want you to get the gravity of this. If you're having 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and something like 80 to 90% of them you have the next day, right? So they're the same. Like, human beings are quite habitual, right? We like our routines and habits. Interesting that it happens with our minds as well. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. I want you to really try this on, right? 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day that are kind, loving, supportive, cheerful, happy, uplifting, encouraging, supportive, versus 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day that are unkind, cruel, mean, judgmental, blaming, contracted, awful. Can you feel the difference? This is huge, and this is what happens to us all the time. And you know, again, remembering what I said on the very first day, awareness and innocence is awareness without any judgment. It's just like looking at our circumstance and going, I have an awareness. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm just going to look and see through eyes of love, right, and acceptance of where I'm at. And you're going to have a pretty good idea of where you're at, because it's going to show up in your energy and your vibration. You know, you're probably going to know immediately if you've been more this side or more this side in terms of your reality. Are you being kind? That's a really good question to ask yourself. Not to other people in this circumstance, in relationship to yourself. So are you being kind? And it's often something that we will happily extend to other people, but we don't necessarily extend it to ourselves. So, this is why we want to start looking at language, because you are in it all day, every day. You're having thoughts constantly. Now, often people step into a massive spiritual awakening when they realize they are not their thoughts, right? That you're actually the one observing your thoughts. And just kind of letting that sit in for a moment, because your mind might be going, I don't know what she's talking about. Because often what happens is we can think that we are our thoughts, we're the one having them, but we're actually the observer of our thoughts. One of the best analogies somebody ever gave me was to actually consider that your mind is like a little dog looking out the window, right? So your mind is, and the cars that are going past are the thoughts, right? So as the mind, we don't want to run out into traffic and get run over like the little dog. We want to be the observer of our thoughts. And this is what I'm talking about today in depth, right? To be the observer of your thought processes. Because what happens, folks, is your 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, they create a chemical reaction in your body. That chemical reaction contributes to how you feel, right? You can't sit there and think beautiful high vibrational thoughts and your energy be contracted, right? It doesn't work. It goes against the laws of physics. Just as you can't be in pain and suffering thought and feel good in your body, it's naturally going to contract. Now, what happens, of course, when the spiritual awakening occurs is often realizing that we are not the thoughts, so we have a choice in relationship to them. We can actually be the person who goes, oh, I'm actually having a thought process which is contributing to me feeling awful, and I can change it. I am the observer of this experience. I talked a little bit about the spaciousness that occurs when we realize that we're not our thoughts. There becomes more space and we can be the observer. Again, the wood for the trees. Often when you're in the forest, it can just feel like, oh, this is happening to me. Whereas when you realize that you're not your thoughts, you create that space and you can observe them, and you can monitor them, and you can go, oh, do I like that thought? Do I not like that thought? Is that thought contributing to my life? And this is often where the universe comes in to help us, to be able to create that more spaciousness, to help us to remember who we really are. Hi, Raylene. Hi, Maria. Yes, that's right, Maria. Eckhart Tolle, of course, talks about this because it's being the observer and also of the doer versus the beer, right? You are a human being. You're not a human doing. So we are the eternal essence. We are limitless beings that have a body. But of course, when we have a body, we have thoughts, we have a mind, we have these 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. We want to start asking ourselves, what is the quality of those thoughts? Because of course, that naturally leads into the quality of the relationship that we're having with ourselves. And even realizing that you have a choice and that you can change this relationship by starting to change your language. It's really super powerful. So looking at those 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, I want you to kind of ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, what quality do you feel you have at the moment? Like if you were going to monitor it and say, okay, it's really good quality, or there's some work that needs to be done. Where do you think you're at? Why do we ask for it to put it on a scale of 1 to 10? Because it creates clarity. It's like a snapshot. You can see where you're at. And when you can see where you're at, you can make adjustments and you can actually see how you're improving. And this is actually part of the advice or the suggestion that I'd love for you guys to uptake in terms of monitoring and auditing your thoughts, which is to be in that space where you're checking in on a regular basis and asking yourself, what's the thought that I just had and what's the quality of that thought? And is there another thought that I can choose instead? So recognizing that you have the power of choice. And often what will happen, I've asked this before in workshops and people have kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? Is realizing that you actually have control over your emotions. A lot of people live in a reality where they feel like their emotions are being done to them, right? That something external outside of them is creating the way that they feel. And the revelation comes from realizing that no, it's about your belief system, about how you see the world. Like it was Anais Nin who said that, right? We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. Remembering that perception, the filter that we have of our perception. So how important it is to actually start looking. And if you look at words, I love looking at words, right? Because words are so powerful. And if you guys are interested in manifestation, you will take this lesson in particular to heart and embody it deeply. People overlook the power of their language all the time. Where do you think spelling came from? Right? The word spelling. And again, because you think about it, right, it's often associated with witches, that they cast a spell. We do that all the time with our words. You know, when we say, oh my God, this situation's awful, it's terrible, it's appalling, this is wrong, this is bad, we are casting a spell. I want you to understand too, your words have a vibration. So when you're using words like appalling, horrible, terrible, awful, that's flooding out into your energetic field, right? You have your physical body, you have your mental body, you have your emotional body, you have your auric field, you have your celestial fields. Google it, look it up so you can see how many energetic fields that you have that surround your body, you know, all around your body, above your head, below your feet, your chakras going up into the sky, through your body, down into the ground. When you say words often, right, and you're doing it mindlessly, you're doing it out of a default position, you're not doing it from a place of conscious awareness, you are flooding this energy into your energy field. And literally, right, people have talked before about how if you say to somebody, you know, oh my goodness, you look terrible, what happens to that person? Right? Is that person often goes, oh, do I? You know, and then they kind of end up agreeing with what that other person has said. Wayne Dyer used to talk about this a lot in his book, Real Magic, that you are literally, you end up creating your reality through the words that you speak. You know, again, thoughts become things. You know, anybody who's done Manifestation 101 knows the power of your language. But I really want you to bring attention to it because it's probably something that you are overlooking, taking for granted, and not addressing in your day-to-day reality. One of the most powerful things that you can do in terms of manifestation is speak what you want to manifest out loud. Communicate to create. And this is why it's so important. If we are using language, you know, like stop judging things, or at least become aware of where you're judging things and go, actually, I have a choice and I'm going to do something completely different and send love instead. Instead of me judging or criticizing or blaming, I'm going to send some peace. I'm going to choose love in this moment. Because we're all connected. This comes back to the power of one and the law of one, which is that the universe is one mind, so we're all connected through our soul. So when we say something out loud, it comes back to us like a boomerang, right? So if you're judging or criticizing somebody, what you're essentially doing is judging and criticizing yourself. Now, how does that work? Your filter is where the judgment is going through. So if you see something in your reality and you're like, oh, I don't like that, you're the one who has the filter that is determining whether it's right or wrong. Now, this is the difference between humans and also source energy, is source energy is not in the energy of right or wrong. Source energy is oneness. So it's embodying everything. It embodies the light and the dark. If we want to experience greater levels of freedom, we want to aspire to be like the universe and see everything as included rather than this is right and that's wrong, so therefore I'm going to create separation. Your ego is an expert at doing that. You want to be able to collapse that paradigm and go, actually, what it is that I'm judging in that person, right? And this is a big thing. This is what I teach my clients, right? What I see it that I'm judging in that other person, where am I not loving that in myself? Ooh, right? Again, what I'm judging in somebody else, where am I not loving that in myself? And often, you know, in spiritual circles, this will come up in regards to somebody who is a perpetrator. You know, somebody who's hurt other people. Maybe that's somebody who's murdered somebody and we judge that person as wrong or bad or evil. What we're really judging is that within ourselves, because we all have that capacity. So really, instead of, what that person needs, they don't need any more judgment or criticism or contraction. What they really need is love. And this is never so more so than with the bully victim scenario. People forget the victim and the bully both need love. Okay, so really starting to step into starting to audit your thoughts. And let's just do that now, right? Like, I want you to think about your thought processes over the last week. Hey Fee, how are you, lovely? To what level were you kind and loving to yourself? And again, don't make yourself wrong if you weren't, but be in that space of like, oh wow, I could definitely be nicer to myself. Right? Bring some spaciousness and acceptance to it. And anywhere there's any part of you that is hurting, realizing that that's part of you that's looking to be loved. It's part of you that's looking to be brought back into the energy of inclusion and love. This is how we heal. By, again, like I said, opening the door. The fastest way, right, to increase your self-worth is to go to those dark places within ourselves. Open the door, bring the love and light in, and love what is present. We often think that we have these monsters or darkness within ourselves. When we actually show up and are willing to love it, it's often the courage from our own heart space just to include and integrate the shadow parts of ourselves. That's when we become whole. That's when we become more like the universe, because we're integrating the light and the dark. Alrighty, so let me know if this is landing for you folks, right? Is this making sense in terms of how powerful your language is in terms of how you see reality? Because you think about it, if you're blame, judgment, criticism, ridicule, humiliation, shame, and guilt, if you're running those energies and filters through your mind, it's not only going through your mind, it's going through your body. Your body hears everything that you say. It's going out into your field of reality. It colors your perception. What's it going to be like to live in that versus somebody who's done a little bit of work, cleaned it up, and there's just more neutrality. There's more like, oh, that person's hurting. I'm going to send them some love. Right? That person's just been really horrible to me. They're obviously hurting. I'm going to send them some love. Right? There's more spaciousness. There's more relaxation. When you're in that energy as well, it's much easier to manifest what it is that you want. There's no resistance. There's no obstruction. You can just go forth and actually create it and make it happen. And that only really comes from integrating those parts of ourselves that we are denying, that we're not choosing to see, that we're not loving. Okay, so Fee says, I am fabulous. Yay, just want to say how grateful I am for this amazing vibration space. Yay, thanks Fee. Yeah, because again, once you master this, honestly, this one thing in and of itself, even if you're not interested in developing your spirituality or raising your vibration, if you do this one thing, it is naturally going to change your whole life. Right, in terms of what is possible for you. So really starting to look at, if I've got 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, where am I at on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of the quality of those thoughts? Do you actually use words like love, bliss, harmony, joy, magic, fun, delight, love? Are you using those words in your day-to-day vocabulary? What would it take to start? Right? Telling more people I love you, or I think you're great, or tell yourself I'm great, right? See the words in your mind, speak them out loud, run the vibration through your energetic field, and start to do the work of looking at, if you're having a AKA crappy thought, what does it take to actually go, I wonder where that originates from? What part of me is believing that that is true? How does it actually feel in my body? And this is the thing. You will know whether it's true by the way that it feels. Truth is expanded. Lies are contracted, right? Lies are heavy, truth is light. That's it. It's that simple. So, and this is how we know whether we're in alignment or not, because whether we're feeling good and expanded and relaxed and happy, we're on track. And if we're not, then we're experiencing some kind of disconnection from source energy. We're experiencing a disconnect from the truth of who we really are. And often that can come back to the language that you are saying in your mind. So that's a really good place to start to do an audit. So recognizing too that you have a choice. You are the observer. Your thoughts, right, are those little cars that are driving past. Start noticing the quality of those thoughts and realize if you see thought processes that you don't like, you get to change them. Of course, the questions: is what I'm thinking kind? Is it necessary? And is it true? And this is where we want to start practicing the ability to do the self-inquiry. And when you practice self-inquiry, you can do it really quick over time, right? You'll be able to catch yourself. The more you practice, the more you'll be able to catch yourself and be able to go, oh, look, I'm having a crap thought. Actually, I'm going to shift that. I told you guys, I think yesterday, about a moment I had when I was driving into the city, and in that moment I could see my mind going kind of back into an old thought process, which I knew was going to make me feel like rubbish. And in the same moment, it was kind of simultaneously happening in my mind. I went, no, I'm not going to think that. And that was a moment of self-mastery for me, because I had practiced recognizing my thoughts and the quality of my thoughts, and actually realized and activated my power of choice to go, actually, I get to choose something else that's going to make me feel bigger, more expanded, truthful, right? So recognizing that this can take a little bit of practice, but what does it take to start? So what I recommend that you do, guys, is literally put an alarm on your phone, because people forget. So take your phone out right now and set an alarm that goes off every hour on the hour. And don't worry if it even gets annoying, right? Pop that thought down too, because this is literally one thing that you can do to fundamentally change your life. When the alarm goes off, just check yourself and go, what is it that I was just thinking? Write it down, right? Again, observe, don't judge, just write it down, whatever it was. Right? And then give it a score on a scale of 1 to 10. What's the quality of this thought? You know, maybe it was a crappy thought, so it's only a 2 out of 10. Maybe it was like, oh, I was actually feeling really good because I was thinking this, this, and this. And so maybe it's more like an 8. Right? And then you're going to get a snapshot of what the quality of your thoughts are. And it's going to help you to actually see it on paper, and therefore realize that, you know, you'll be training yourself that when that next hour alarm comes up and it goes off, you can actually go, you know what, I get to choose another thought. Now, of course, I would recommend that you choose thoughts that are in alignment with the mind of God. For example, in that moment when you're interrupting yourself with the alarm, because that's important, right? You need to learn that that's something that you can do, interrupt your own thoughts, and choose to replace it with the peace of God, right? With the peace of the universe. You can say to yourself, I could be experiencing peace rather than this. Or I get to choose another thought. Or what is another thought that I can choose right now that's actually going to contribute to my happiness? Especially if what you're thinking isn't even true. Especially if it's a, you know, if it's a blame, judgment, criticism, is it even true? You know, is it true that if you're blaming or judging somebody that they're fundamentally a bad person? No. Right? It's really easy to start poking holes in your own arguments. And what I've seen people do before as well, people argue for their own limitations. Right? The ego will get activated and it will say, but you don't know what that person did to me. She was horrible. He was really mean. Right? That is your ego. Just send it some love. Love your ego. Your ego essentially is an illusion. It's a part of you that's trying to keep you safe. It's really the evolution of humanity from Darwinian, right? You know, which goes back to that primal instinct of, if somebody comes into my reality, is it safe for me to be friends with them? Do I, you know, fornicate with them, or do I kill them? Right? It's a real primal instinct. That's where the ego has evolved from. It's all about keeping you safe. So, but of course, what happens in this day and age, instead of it being a saber-toothed tiger, it's work stress or your boss, right? So recognizing that, right? If your ego's having a little bit of a fluff up, and you can always tell way your ego feels, because it will feel charged, right? You'll want to go into defense mechanism. You'll want to kind of try and protect yourself. That's what it feels like when you're in fully fledged judgment, right? That you've got to protect yourself and at all costs. Realize in those moments you still have a choice. You can take a deep breath and you go, oh, look, my ego's been activated. I'm still going to make another choice in this moment. I can bring a sense of calm in by realizing that the peace of the universe is always available to me. I just need to choose it. And choose it you must to be able to experience it, right? We need to choose to bring source energy into our life because we have free will. So if we choose the universe chooses us back. And this is how we activate the law of vibration, through our words, which we're running through our mind, speaking out loud, and then we start activating our ability to manifest like a rock star. And this when we shift the energy from all this contraction to all this expansion, amazing things start showing up. Things just pop into your reality. You think of something and then it shows up. This is really a fundamental in terms of being an excellent manifester. You want to get your language within inside of yourself running in a direction that works for you. It takes time. It takes practice. But I guarantee you, if you do this exercise of setting an alarm on your phone, checking your thought every hour, just writing it down in a little notebook, giving it a score on a scale of 1 to 10, what you can do at the end of the day, say you've done it 8 times, is you can look at your scores. You can give yourself a percentage for the day, and it's going to help you to become more aware that you have a choice and that you can change it. Maybe in your workbook, you write down some things that you can say to yourself instead. I am love. I am kind. I choose to be kind to myself. I choose love instead of this, right? Really powerful. I choose to see the truth. I choose to forgive myself in this moment for being a little unkind to myself or to somebody else, right? Again, we all know we are our own greatest judge. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, but your language is so powerful. So what does it take to shift that language from what has been perhaps, a default mechanism? Really take ownership of it, make a deep commitment to the power of your words, realize that you are spelling, right, your life by speaking those words out loud, and really start to make that commitment to I'm going to clean up my language. I'm going to make sure I'm saying bliss, love, delight, joy. I'm going to find ways about how I can put that in a sentence. I'm going to think about what it is that I wish to create, and I'm going to speak it out loud. I used to do a lot of clearing statements in the car on the way to work when I was in the banking industry. I'd just sit in the car and speak out loud, what would it take to blah, 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 blah. I'd clear and transmute my energy consistently to be able to get to work in a high vibration. Start of your day, super important. You guys know I'm forever talking about a spiritual practice, especially at the start of the day. What does yours look like? Happy and gratefuls are a really good place to start. I am happy and grateful for this. That's another thing you can do when you interrupt your thought process. I'm happy and grateful for this instead of choosing this thought. So this is really powerful in terms of realizing you have a choice, right? You have a choice. You have a choice to connect with the universe. You have a choice in regards to your language. And you have a choice to be free, to experience peace. So, are you going to make that choice? Are you going to make that commitment to set the alarm on your phone right now, get a little notebook, even if it's in the back of your diary or something, start auditing your thoughts, realizing that for every thought that you have, you can choose to exchange it for another thoughts. Realize that you are the observer, you are not your thoughts, so you have dominion over them. Alrighty, so let me just have a look at your so true and freeing. Yes, I have been giving myself such a hard time for hurting, learning to sit in the pain, and wow, it eases. Yes, Jules, and right, this is I'm glad you brought that up because it is a fundamental, really important point. Your emotions, folks, are like waves. They are energy and motion, emotion. They move through your body. So no matter how painful it is, right? And this may seem counterintuitive, but this is how you help energy to move through your body more quickly. You want to expand, right? And this is often the last thing that we feel like doing when we're hurting. But if we can expand out and trust in the universe, like see our energy expanding, allow the emotion almost to turn it up and move through you, like if you even visualize that, it will help to release it faster and quicker. Because you think about it, if you're really contracted in your energy, if you've got a big emotion that's trying to move through you, it's going to take a long time, right? It's going to probably have to wait and come back. Have you ever noticed that, right? Like you're going through something and it's just like, oh my God, this feels like it's never ending. And it's almost like you have to surrender, expand your energy, and allow the emotion to move through you. And it does. And it can be such a relief to know that there is an end point, right? That the wave does come through and it does crash, right? It does release, it does shift. But when we're first really starting to sit with our pain and our emotions, that can kind of be a little daunting. But remember that, right? How expanded is my energy when you're feeling the pain? Because it's natural to want to contract, right? You're trying to protect yourself, you're trying to minimize the pain. It's almost like you need to open your heart up and lean into it to allow it to move through, which is a huge faith and trust proposition. That's why we want to call on the high frequency energy of the universe to support you as you're doing that. Really, in my experience, the only thing that heals is love, and the only thing that love is source energy. So if we go to the highest love frequency there is, which is pure source energy, pure source consciousness, that is what heals us. Okay, been catching more thoughts lately. Yes, yay. Yes, life is feeling a little lighter. Yes, being aware of the fact that you have more dominion over your thoughts. Hi, Ling, love you. I've gotten pretty good at catching those negative thoughts, but I can definitely expand my positive vocabulary to include delight, harmony, extra. Try and see how you feel. Right? I mean, like doing little energy games and techniques is a really fun way and playful way of shifting and working with your vibration. You know, even I used to put it up on my computer, like, and I still have it in my bathroom mirror, like my words for the year. Even looking at them can help shift your vibration. You know, the other word I used to have written up on a piece of paper on a post-it note was trust, 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 trust. Or even the comment, you know, what would somebody who loves themselves 24/7, what would they do now? Right? How would they think about this situation? How would they approach it? What would they be saying? What would they be doing? What would they be experiencing? And what you'll start to realize, folks, is with the power of energy and your intuition, there is no limits in regards to how good you can feel. You know, I've shared with you guys last week that my dad's been really ill. You know, it's only through using my tools that I have been able to show up and present to you guys. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I know how to shift my vibration. I'm so grateful that I can do that, that I have that skill set to be able to put myself in a vibration where I can show up and give to other people, especially when I have stuff going on, right? Like, which a lot of people would deem to be pretty serious and full on. So again, that's the power of your thoughts, your beliefs, and when you get it all on the same page, right? When you've got your superconscious, your subconscious, and your rational mind all on the same page, you literally become unstoppable in terms of what you can do and what you can achieve. And all of it, the base of all of it, is how you want to feel. Right? Because that's what self-worth is all about, is how you want to feel. What is the quality of that relationship you're having with yourself? Why? Because what everybody wants at the end of the day is to feel good. More often than not, right? What does it take to get to that place where life is good? You feel good. You can be grateful for whatever is showing up. All right, so we've talked about a lot today. I just want to recap and make sure that I've covered everything. So we've talked about language and the power of your spoken word and how powerful it is. It's fundamental to manifesting, super, super important. Even looking at words or studying words, words are fascinating. You know, even for me, the word responsibility, for a long time, we can have an understanding of what a word means, but we cannot always understand specifically. I remember when I realized that responsibility, because my previous experience of that was it's like a little bit of a burden. But if you look at the word, it's the ability to be able to respond. Does that not feel so much lighter than feeling like, oh, that's my responsibility, i.e., burden? Right? You know, this is why it's so important for us to get clarity around the words that we're speaking and how it impacts our vibration. You know, even to interrupt yourself, you know, if you're driving along in the car and you know you're talking smack to yourself, to say, hey, girlfriend, we're not doing that today. We're going to try something different. You know, imagine that you've got your best friend sitting next to you and she turns around and she said, you know, let me tell you a funny story, or let's knock that out of the park, because that's not good for your soul. It's not good for your energy. It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your body. It is not good for your self-worth. So let's change it because we have the power to. Okay, let me just check here that I've said everything that I wanted to say. Yes, the awakening process, realizing that you're the wave, not the ocean. Okay, and the observer of your thoughts, right? And again, I just want to reiterate that. Make sure that you take this lesson in particular seriously, okay? Because a lot of people override this in particular, and it is huge, right? Your thoughts, what you say, it is incredibly powerful. I want you to see yourself as an alchemist, right? That you have the power to change the words that come out of your mouth. I literally want you to see the words coming out of your mouth changing your reality, because that's how powerful they are. So start owning that, right? Like the words I speak are literally creating my reality. So is my reality loving, fun, blissful, kind, delightful, awesome? Or is there something else going on? And this is also the path of authenticity. Authenticity means that there's no masks, right? Authenticity means that you are showing up as you are. It means that you are, everything is lined up, you know, there's no separation or defense mechanism between you and other people. You're just showing up as you are. And we need to get our language lined up for that to be in integrity, for that to be in truth, for that to be honest. So what you're saying on the inside, you've probably heard that before, what you think, what you say, what you speak, that's when you're going to experience the happiness, the peace. To know yourself as source energy is when all of that's lined up. If you're saying it, and again, you've probably heard this too, if you don't want it, don't say it. Super important in terms of manifesting, right? If you don't want to experience something, i.e., I've used this as an example before. Say you see somebody driving a Lamborghini and you're like, oh my goodness, you know, what an idiot, or you know, what a snob, or whatever. You don't want to say that if you want to manifest a Lamborghini, because you're literally judging it and making it wrong, and the universe, through the law of vibration, goes, oh, okay, you don't want that. So really understanding the power of your words, you want to bless other people. You want to bless people that are more successful in your perception than you. You want to bless people who are less. You want to bless everybody. You want to come back into that law of oneness and realize how powerful your words are in terms of creating your reality. Clean up your language, do the audit, make a choice, activate your power to make that choice, and know that you can always choose a thought that has a higher vibration, and you'll do the work if you want to manifest faster and quicker and exponentially increase your self-worth. Folks, it's been amazing talking to you guys today. I would love to hear your feedback in regards to how this has landed for you. Please post in the comments some of the words that you're going to use moving forward. Like I said, you know, like the I am statements, we do that for that purpose. It's I am Wednesday today. What's your I am statement for today? What would it take to write down a whole bunch? Like, I am peace, I am kind, I am happy, I am delighted, I am blissful, I am joy. Even saying these words out loud raises your vibration. That's why we do our happy and gratefuls first thing in the morning. Raise your vibration, it floods through your energy, it moves you through your day. Anyway, I've really enjoyed talking about this today, folks, but I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go into more of the shadow, but it's super powerful in terms of shifting your vibration. I'm going to lead you through a wee mini process, which is just really going to help you to realize how strong and courageous and brave and powerful you are, and I'll look forward to connecting with you guys again tomorrow. Lots of love, folks. Bye for now. Bye.